Sorry, I was just trying to.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Commission on the Status of Women in our September meeting. Hope everyone's doing well. Claudia, do you want to call this meeting to order?
Sure. So it is, as you said, September meeting. So just calling the meeting to order. And the first, so it's 7:10 and the meeting has just started. So the first item is the approval of the minutes from the July 25th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minute? Or I guess if there's any discussion first about the minutes or comments.
So move. We've got to move them before we can speak on them.
Okay, thank you. I did say that I needed guidance on the Roberts rules, so.
All good. Happy to help.
Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 25th.
Okay, any second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the minutes or comments? Or did we pass that when we approved it? Nothing? Okay, so I think then we vote on, is that right? Vote
Yeah,
on
just
the motion?
do it all in favor.
Okay, so all in favor of approving the minutes from July 25th, either raise your hand or say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Okay, so that is any nays? I think that was unanimous, but okay. Thank you. The next item is public comment. I don't think that there's any anybody here, but if there's, is there any, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
We actually have, Jasmine is in, Jasmine's here too as an attendee. Hi, Jasmine. And we actually do have a few people as attendees, and Diane Lauricella, is that how I pronounce your name? My apologies. But she would like to give public comment. I'm going to allow her to talk. Okay, you have the floor, Diane.
Thank you so much. And Michelle, you pronounced my name very well. It depends on, I sometimes say Lauricella, but I answer to almost anything. Anyway, good evening. Once again, on occasion, I've spoken at your meetings. I know there haven't occurred for a long time. Tonight, I first wanted to say I did listen to and read the minutes. I think that the work that you're doing with the Center for Youth Leadership, including getting gals tampons and things, is terrific. And also the bathroom inventory, because I had heard on occasion that there had been issues with just bathrooms in general and their upkeep. So very good. It's really great to work with youth and high school students in this case. The main reason I am here tonight is I had just wanted to raise up an issue. Several months ago, I stuck my neck out and I wrote this commission a letter relating to my experience as well as my perception about equity, appointments, and the way I have observed and also experienced women are treated at times. Now, I think things are much better with this administration. However, there are still issues from probably cultural upbringing and the way at times women are perceived in society. But I do think that this commission, one of its missions, of course, I read the missions, and the mission, part of the mission is to attempt to reduce the amount of inequitable behaviors. So I look forward to listening to some of the discussion later on in the program and the diversity and research committee reports. I would like to know if someone from this committee can reach out to me and to discuss the issues mentioned in my letter that was sent to you all earlier in the year. The gaslighting has continued, and some of this occurs in predominantly male-dominated committees. I'll just report that most recently, I was quite surprised but disappointed that the Harbor Commission appointed yet another white male. And so that has been, the Harbor Commission has been an issue. And I was quite saddened that the female council members who I had spoken with about Harbor Management Commission appointments a few years ago, who said that it won't happen again, approved of this white male. Again, not to say that person wasn't qualified or a wonderful person, but there is only one female on that commission, and that's been the case for a while, even the previous administration. So could someone please discuss or find a way to reach out to me so we could maybe work on some solutions, including the process for searching for resumes? A lot of it is still who you know and who you feel comfortable with. And that puts women, especially women who speak up, at a disadvantage. Unfortunately, I have to come to you today in September of 2022, stating that some of our boards and commissions still have that issue. But I think we can fix it, but we have to work together and people have to communicate. And I'm expecting and would like some communication. Thank you very much for your work.
Thanks so much, Diane. And if you continue to listen to the rest of our meeting, I think you'll be happy to hear an update from the Diversity Committee. Anyone else here to give public comment? I don't see anyone else's hands raised. And thank you so much again, Diane, for coming to our meeting and sharing your comment. We really appreciate it, and we'll follow up. Hey, Claudia. We'll also make sure that Diane's comment goes into the record. And if you want to continue, Claudia, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. So the next item on the agenda is old business. So we'll start with the reports from the committee. Well, we have the reports from the three committees. So start with the nominations committee. So that's Christina and me. And I would, on behalf of us, Christina, please chime in, but we don't really have any update. We just need to regroup. We haven't met in a while, but we do, just to what was referenced before about young people, we have, as we've shared previously, really committed to trying to diversify in terms of the age group, the ages on this commission. And the only other thing I would say, and then Christina, please jump in, is that as we all know, Ileana had to step down off the commission, so we actually have 2 vacancies. Christina, did you want to add anything?
I was just actually double checking my email and agree. Ileana recently stepped down, and she did identify someone that she'd like to recommend. So being that I'm new to this process, I obviously understand that all nominations have to be vetted through the proper process, but she did identify someone that she feels would round out the diversity of our organization, of this commission as well. But that was just very recent, a couple weeks ago, not even last week, I think, that she had to step down because of a work conflict. And as such, we have that position to fill. So we probably should maybe get a meeting on the books to identify that. And it sort of ties into the diversity update, which I just found out, or I just realized Sharon can't be here tonight. So I'm looking through my notes to make sure that I can speak accurately. So, but no, I agree with everything you said, Claudia.
Thanks, Christina. Any questions or comments? And in terms of an action item, Christina and I will be sure to meet between now and our next meeting, our October meeting of the commission, so we can have them move along with regard to filling those vacancies. Anything else on that? Okay. If not, we can move on to the research committee update. And let's see who's here from the research committee. That's Yvonne and me. And so we didn't actually meet, and we didn't have a September meeting because Sarah is the chair of that committee and was about 2 weeks maybe after giving birth. So, so we had a small meeting in August and agreed to regroup, when she's back, able to kind of reconvene. We did, and as I say, it was just the three of us. Yvonne, do you want to add anything about what our conversation back in August?
Yes, so we have the spreadsheet in which for the research piece. So we had a conversation about how we would prefer to incorporate, or other commissions would prefer us to incorporate our questions into their own surveys that they may be doing. That include the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So Sarah will be reaching out to Mrs. King to see what exactly is it that we can add into their survey. So far, we have a spreadsheet that Sarah has shared with the commission before that had the different categories of things we wanted to include in our survey. We did develop at our last meeting the categories a little bit more. And now Claudia and I will be working on getting questions together, sample questions that we will be actually asking in the survey. So we are in the process of doing that. And once we have those questions, we will send them to the whole commission for feedback. And that's pretty much what we have so far.
Thanks, Yvonne. Any comments or questions for Yvonne or me about that? And we didn't set ourselves a deadline for those questions, but maybe we can just commit to getting that done too before the next meeting, so that we can try to move that, at least get the draft questions circulated for people to take a look at. Christina, did you have a comment, or were you coming off mute to do the diversity committee report? Okay.
Yeah, just coming off mute so that I
That's excellent.
didn't start talking to
No, I'll turn it over to you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diane, thank you for your comments and completely appreciate them. And indeed, I actually went back in my email to make sure that I pop up the letter that you wrote us sort of at the top of my inbox so I can re-review that. So thank you for that gentle but polite nudge that we should do. So we'll definitely look back in our emails, as it was, of course, forwarded to us, and we reviewed it at the time that it was originally sent. So thank you, Diane. The committee met with, and I am going to be really honest, Claudia, remind me, were you on the call with us? I believe, were you not?
With the mayor?
Yes.
Yes, I was.
Yes, you were, and Michelle as well. So keep me honest if I say anything that is not accurate. Forgive me, Jasmine, were you also with us? I believe, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Jasmine, Claudia, myself, and Sharon, if I'm forgetting anyone, please pop in, met with Mayor Rilling and, forgive me, Ms. King. How do you pronounce her first name?
Leisha. She takes no worries. It's hard to pronounce her name based on the.
Well, I just names are important, so I wanted to make sure I say it properly. So Leisha. Thank you. Okay, so we met with them in the end of July, sort of in the heart of, for those that are fortunate enough to be able to go on vacation, sort of in the heart of vacation season. So we did meet at the end of July and presented the slide deck that all of you had seen previously. It seemed to be well received. There was acknowledgement of the fact that some of the concerns that we've raised have been raised before. which begs the question that we're still talking about the same thing, but I think that's, the presentation in and of itself, I think put things in black and white, which I think was important. And then I believe where we left it was that we were waiting for Leisha and Mayor Rilling to get back to us, and Sharon, in her due diligence, being a very good leader of our committee, actually emailed them at the end of actually, hang on, I'm gonna just for the date and the note taking. She actually reached back in the beginning of September to remind them that we met and are excited to hear back from them, because where we left it was that we were expecting to hear back from them. So we need to follow up in particular as to what next steps can be made. Some of the things that we spoke about, to Diane's points, were creating sort of a portal of some sort that would be very simplistic, but allow people to express their interest in sitting on commissions. But that's fine and dandy. The most important thing then would be to get that out into our communities, specifically the communities that we are missing in representation on our boards, and making sure that those communities know about that opportunity. Again, that is not set up yet, but that was one of our recommendations for the city to ensure that there's an easy and open process for folks to nominate themselves and for folks to nominate others. I think that was also a big part of it, to make sure that we're being very equitable and open-minded as we look at consideration for filling spots in various commissions. To my colleagues that were on the call, did I miss anything? So I think ultimately where we left it is we're waiting to hear back. So Michelle, would you be able to help us revisit that conversation to solicit a response for the next meeting?
Sure. And I think the only other update, and thanks for sharing that, Christina, is that the mayor and Leisha found the information really helpful as they strive to make each committee and commission more diverse. So it was really helpful meeting for them.
And there was something else we can add to the record that we did mention. Can everybody hear me?
Yep. Great.
Okay. That we did mention that to provide mentorship to the new people who are added to boards and commissions, so that they feel supported and are, encouraged along the way. Because oftentimes people are, joined and then kind of left to figure it out. So I believe we talked to that too in the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Jasmine. Yes, good point. And definitely an important component.
Thank you.
Claudia, anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would just echo, I think, what Michelle said, that, I mean, I didn't know how they received it, but the presentation was really strong. So just, kudos to all of you who worked on it. Jasmine, I know you did, and Christina and Sharon. And, I think what Mayor Rilling expressed during the meeting too was kind of the value of some of the data that was included in terms of percentages of various populations on the different commissions and committees, and how things changed a little bit over time, but how much more progress we really can make. So so thank you very much for that. You're on mute.
And just as a reminder to everyone too, and for any of those attending the meeting, the presentation was founded in some research that we did on Norwalk and current commission representation, as well as in best practices across the country, as well as in the value and the explicit value of making sure that commissions and committees for the cities are diverse in its representation of the city that we represent. So it was definitely a very well, all of that goes to Sharon and her leadership in putting it together. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Christina. Anything else on related to the diversity committee? No? Okay, then we'll move on to new business, and we're just super pleased to have a guest speaker this evening, Marguerite Lauter. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. The vice chair and former chair of the Arlington, Virginia Commission on Women. And many thanks to Michelle, who reached out to invite Marguerite to join us. So Marguerite, many thanks. We're excited to have you and hear and hear from you on how the Arlington, Virginia committee sort of, if not got its start, kind of what your experience was. And we will, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks so much.
And yeah, thank you so much, Claudia. I just have a bio,
Great.
but Marguerite, can you please tell us how to properly pronounce your name before we get started? And thanks so much for joining us.
It's Marguerite Luter, but you can call me anything and I'll respond.
Well, thank you, Marguerite. You said, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, all the way from Arlington, Virginia, even though we are currently living in a virtual world in this meeting. But I just wanted to share a little bit about Marguerite's impressive resume. So Marguerite, as Claudia said, just to start, she was appointed by the Arlington County Board in Virginia to serve on the advisory commission on the status of women, and is going to share some of their findings in the past, what they focused on, and give us an idea. I told her that the Norwalk Commission is the first commission on the status of women in Connecticut, and that we are interested in learning from best practices from other local commissions around the country. And just a little bit about Marguerite. She is the president and owner of the Process Pro, an LLC fueling organization growth strategically and tactically group focused on strategic planning, business process, organization development, and operations. She spent her entire career focused on helping organizations grow. Her efforts at Xerox, Unicy, and now the Process Pro demonstrate an uncommon common sense of using wisdom and best practices to integrate strategic thinking and planning with technical and performance objectives. And Marguerite has a master's in guidance and counseling from Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., and is a member of the 2012 inaugural class of Leadership Foundry, a women in technology program to prepare women to serve on corporate boards. She is the past president of Women in Technology, where she has served many years on the board of directors and as chair of their mentoring program. She served as chair and vice chair for 8 years in the Leadership Foundry and the Women in Technology initiative to increase the number of women serving in corporate boards in the Washington, D.C. region. She also served on the board of the STEM for her foundation for several years and was chair of the board. She served 6 years on the national board of the Lupus Foundation of America and also served for several years on the board of the LFA DC Lupus Foundation of America local chapters in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'd love to just hear about your experience locally on the Arlington Commission on the Status of Women, what you all focused on, and if you would be open to members' questions, that would be great too. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's very exciting that you want to hear about what we're doing in Arlington, Virginia. We're very thrilled with being here and all the opportunities that we get to work on here. And I certainly will take questions from any of the members, just let me know. Hopefully I won't have any technical difficulties. The computer has not been my friend lately, but the Commission on the Status of Women was created as an advisory board by the County Board of Arlington back in 1974. So we've actually been around a while. The commission was chartered to study issues, serve as a public forum, act as a liaison between Arlington women and also other county commissions. Our actual mission statement is the Arlington Commission on the Status of Women works to advance initiatives and policies that empower women and girls and serves as a community advocate and resource on the social and economic interests of all Arlington women and girls. Our two governing documents, I did have a chance to go to your website, and so I saw your bylaws, and interestingly enough, there are similarities, and ours are pretty much covered in the two governing documents that are used here. There is a county advisory group handbook that applies to all commissions and advisory groups that the board forms. And by the way, just as a point of government administration, We are a county managed, we are a county run by a county board. There is no mayor, if you will, of Arlington. And I think that's pretty much true of all but 2 or 3 locations in the state of Virginia. But be that as it may, the county board has created this advisory group handbook, which really is a governing and administrative document that we all adhere to, that talks about all the things like what are terms, how are meetings conducted, what should attendance be, what happens if attendance is not met. So all of those dry but necessary administrative things that you would expect. And then each commission or advisory group gets what's called a charge. And in our charge is where the details of our focus area really reside. I did not have time before this, but I will go find out whether or not the charge can be released to others, because that would probably be of the most interest to you, since it has a section talking about the things we focus on, and it also has a section on the activities related to some of those things. And interestingly enough, every few years or so, well, I should say more like every 5 or 6 years or so, the county board decides to update some of the commission charges. We actually pushed and asked, could we have an opportunity to give input the last time that occurred, which I believe was 2016 or thereabouts. And as a result of that, we got it to be more specific about the things that we are actually doing, as opposed to the generic things that could lead people to go one way or another if you pass it off to new members year after year. Our terms, by the way, similar to yours, members are appointed for 3-year terms and can be reappointed by the county board. So you can serve 3 consecutive terms. All members serve at the pleasure of the board. Some difference in officers. The chair is appointed, and it's an annual term for the chair of the commission. They are appointed by the board and they are reappointed by the board. So they can serve more than 1 year, but that is all done by the board. The vice chair is then elected by the commissioners. So those are the only 2 official officers that are referenced in our administrative handbook. Our charge has a number of areas of focus. And as I said, we've had the opportunity over the years to give input to this. So we focus on studying issues, serving as a public forum, acting as a liaison to other commissions on behalf of women and girls. And sometimes we even study aspects of issues leading to economic equality. We have been a clearinghouse in the exchange of information concerning equality, answering questions concerning discrimination of women and girls. We've assisted individuals and group working toward the improvement of women's status, and just things in general that help educate Arlington citizens, if you will, about its work for women and the legal rights and human rights of women, and also providing best practices. Some of the functions and activities that we do, there are really 3 things that we do every year that are required by the board. One is not so much a requirement as an expectation. As I said, we were formed back in 1974, and just a few years later, the commission created an award. It is called the Women of Vision Award. And that award process and the award ceremony, it's a very big thing in the county, and we are responsible for that, and we do that every year. And while we don't have to get a note from the board that says we are asking you to do this every year, we certainly know that the board wants us to continue, and we want to continue that. It's a chance to celebrate the outstanding and amazing things that women of the county are doing. And both our commission as well as the award recipients can be made up of women who either live or work in the county. So you don't have to just be a resident. You might actually work in the county and live in DC or Maryland. If you're familiar with the DMV area, there's a lot of cross-pollination into all those other geographies just because of how close we all are. The other 2 things that we do every year, and we are actually sent some, all commissions are sent something asking us to do this. One is giving input to the county board on the legislative package that they intend to take to the state of Virginia. Every county board does that. and the county board here in Arlington looks to commissions, particularly ones that are as specific as ours, focusing on the status of women and girls. They ask for our input on the legislative horizon, if you will, at the time, so that they can look at what they are about to submit to the state and decide if there's any influence that we can provide on some of the legislation that they're going to support. The other thing that we're asked to do every year, the county is run by a county manager who reports to the board. And the county manager prepares the draft budget for the coming year, presents that to the board, and the board has to vote on it up or down. The county looks to commissions. Again, ours is one of the ones expected to give input every year. We get the opportunity to pour through that budget. And the public also gets an opportunity to input, but there's a special session where commissions come back with their input to the county board to talk about whether or not there are things that we see that are good and we want to support those, or are missing and we would recommend they do something different. Doesn't mean we get what we want. It's just to say that we have an opportunity to give input. We operate without a budget, so we're all volunteer. But the other things that we do, the events and the rallies that we support, those are all things where we have to raise the money to provide all of that. Some of the other things that we do, there are programs in the county that focus on women. One of them that you might find on the county website would be Project Peace, which is a county coordinated response to dealing with domestic and sexual violence. And so we send a representative to Project Peace, their meetings and the report outs and the decision on what initiatives will be taken. There is an organization called Doorways for Women that actually enacts most of what Project Peace comes up with that is not specifically in the law enforcement with the police or in the attorney's office. We also will apprise the county school board if necessary, if we think there are issues or initiatives that could help girls that are in the public schools. We participated earlier this year in a drive to provide bras, new and lightly used, as well as sanitary products for high school girls. We also supported an effort by some parents in the public schools earlier this year to get tampons in all of the bathrooms in the schools, as opposed to just in the nurse's office. We will do things like sponsorship of Rally Against Rape. That's part of a nationally coordinated effort. I want to say it's called Light the Night, but I might be wrong. One of our commissioners happens to be an organizer for that in the local area. And so we are a sponsor of Rally Against Rape. We'll help them with communications. We will provide a table, staff a table at the event. We help them find sponsors to pull the event off. And for all of these things where I say we do it every year, please know that we had as many difficulties within the pandemic as everybody else did in the country. So it doesn't apply to pandemic years, but I'm just talking about in normal years. We also will do public forums when issues arise. There, a few years ago, there was an increase in the amount of police reported sexual assaults. And so we put together a public forum to allow the police and the county attorney and citizens to get together, talk about it, and suggestions for what could be done. We did before the pandemic, get the actual police statistics and gave us an opportunity to review whether those were going up or down, and if not, to make recommendations, that sort of thing. We will from time to time conduct research and investigation. The last official array of statistics, if you will, that we pulled together where, we were really pleased this could have been sent to, it was statistically valid. We could have sent it anywhere, if you will. That was some time ago, took quite a lot of effort. Everybody is a volunteer on the commission, just as I'm sure it is the case with you. And so it was long pulling it together. We had many staff organizations in the county to talk with, as well as talking with citizens and trying to pull all that together. And we made some recommendations in each of the areas as to what we would do. Informally, we can pull together some research and investigative efforts much easier. This year, for example, at the annual county fair, we staffed one of the county government's administrative booths and did an informal survey of women on what they thought were the priority issues. We had 5, we had them in cups, we invited them over, we chatted with them, gave them information on the commission and asked them to take a vote on what they thought was the priority issue that we should be working on or priority issue for women in the county. And we then provided that data to the county board for their consideration as they go forward. And we're now just, the fair was just in August, so we're now just working on what else might we do. There were, and interestingly enough, at the county fair, we counted all of the votes. There were over 900 people that actually voted in our informal survey, if you will. So we felt pretty good about that. What we do each year is hold we'll call it a retreat. It just means it's a day and a time where we spend more hours than we typically would in a meeting. And we try to take our big areas of focus and narrow that down to, over the next year, what is it that we hope we will accomplish? What are the specific areas that we want to hone in on? And is there a commissioner willing to lead that effort? So in addition to these 3 big things we know are going to happen regardless, Women of Vision, the input to the legislative package, and the review of the draft budget, what are the other things that we want to do? A few years before the pandemic, we added to the annual calendar what we call a Women in Business seminar. So an opportunity for women who are working to somehow get information that is going to help them in their progress towards economic equality, whatever that subject might be. And it's through talking with women and citizens where we decide what that topic should be. One year it was on negotiating compensation. Another year it was on recruiting and interviewing. And we'll partner with other county agencies and offices so that we are not trying to build all this information we're presenting. We're rather serving as a focal point, if you will, bringing it all together and making it a little bit easier to try to get something done. I've run through a lot of information in a very short period of time, so I'm happy to take questions.
Wow, that was incredible. The Arlington County and Virginia are very lucky to have such a thorough and hardworking commission. But I don't want to take up time because I'm sure there's questions. So take it away, and thank you so much for sharing that great insight.
I'll jump in. I have a couple of questions. Marguerite, thank you so much. That was so interesting and it's very inspiring, and sort of gets at least my brain sort of thinking about how we can kind of make progress and kind of get more engaged. And as I'm sure you know, we're not even a year old. So really trying to sort of find our footing as an entity within the city of Norwalk. So a couple of questions. One is just how large is the commission? And then can you say a bit more about the, or maybe the best way to put it, just in the interest of time, I'm curious about the budget, and rather than get into the weeds on that body of work that you do, maybe you could just give some guidance to us on how, from your experience, we could sort of put like a stake in the sand, or whatever the phrase is, like kind of start to identify where we can have an impact in the short term while also identifying those longer term priorities. So that's a long question, but so yeah, the size of the commission and just any guidance on sort of how to kind of like, have impact, as a very new entity.
Yeah, it's a very difficult task. The number of commissioners does affect that because we don't have a required number of members. We actually asked that be taken out because we were spending more time worrying about keeping up with the right number of people than we were about focusing focusing on the work. And when you meet monthly and you try to get, more than a couple of people together outside of the regular meeting, it becomes a public meeting. It's a big thing. It's just too hard to try to get stuff done. So we need it to be either stuff people can do individually in between meetings or stuff we can get done at the monthly meeting. So we are flexible on the number of people. We try to make sure that there's enough people that there will be somebody that really loves pouring through budgets. And I had to tell you, we were so excited that the last 3 commissioners ago, we had a woman join who said, that is my favorite thing to do. We also had somebody join who absolutely loves going through the legislative agenda at the State House that the state puts out and looking at all that. And so then what comes into our meeting are the pieces that are relevant to our areas of focus. So there is a commissioner that is assigned, if you will. We were doing it before, but it was always somebody that we were tasking to do it who didn't find it necessarily as enjoyable. Now we have people who actually enjoy doing this work, who are delving down into the weeds and then bringing it back to us for us to discuss the relevant parts. Everyone is asked and invited to read the entire budget. I mean, the county budget, the draft of it goes out to all the, it doesn't get sent out, it's posted, if you will, for all the citizenry, and citizens can sign up for the public comment time to look at it. So it's not like it's a secret document, but pouring through it can be very laborious. We are given the opportunity, because we have a commissioner who focuses on that, to look inside. And again, we had that annual session where we said, here are the 5 things that we want to specifically try to make an impact on this year. And so they're looking for the verbiage, the content, the, doing the search around the phrases, the words that apply, or things that we submitted last year and how did that happen this year. And then they're bringing back those relative sections to us for us to process those in the meeting, if you will. And then I've had the opportunity, I was acting chair for a while it took a long time to find the chair replacement. And I had the opportunity to take our information, if you will, to the county board's budget session. And it's really an interesting conversation, especially listening to some of the other commissions and what they came back with in terms of presentations. But our county board is very good about listening. They ask good questions, and we're given the opportunity to say what we feel. And something else, by the way, that's it helped us when we started doing this several years ago. When we're looking at a topic as it relates to the budget, we go out to the other organizations and ask them, is there something that you want our voice to be added to? So for example, the doorways for families and children that we talked about, that's an outgrowth of Project Peace. We always get together with Doorways ahead of time and say, is there something that you're looking for our support on? Because we'll go in and read those sections first and see, is there something that we can add our voice to? We did that in last year's budget input for 2022. We did that with some of the school board organizations and gave support to teacher salaries and things like that, and how that affects women and children. So we're not doing it alone. It's not, we recognize that we ourselves cannot get this all done by ourselves. So we also reach out to our contacts and in our networks and the organizations that are actually doing this work and are affected. We ask them, where would they like our voice? And then we look specifically at those sections and say, is there something we can add to that? Does that help?
It does, yes. Thank you very much. Super helpful.
Any other questions for Marguerite? No, well, thank you so much again for lending your time to us and having us learn from the 1,000 amazing ways in which your commission has been sounds like effective. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
And as I said, Michelle, I'll follow up and find out whether or not we're able to send you a copy of the charge, which has more details. So if we are, I'll get back to you and let you know whether we are or we aren't. But if we are, that you might find that helpful. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you. And if our members have questions for you, is it okay if we follow up? direct
Absolutely.
updates.
No
Great.
problem.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
again.
Marguerite. Have a nice
Probably
rest of
have
your
the same
evening.
public information laws as we do, so just make sure there aren't a bunch of people on the email, so somebody says it should have been a public meeting, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you for your work.
thank you. Bye-bye.
You. Great. Well, thank you, Michelle, for reaching out to Marguerite and organizing that. That was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you,
Um,
Michelle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So many different ideas.
yeah, lots. And I think it'll be really, there's so many, there are quite, a number of commissioners who are not here tonight. It'll be really, we should encourage them to, to listen to the recording of the meeting. I think that'll be, I mean, they can see the minutes too, but to listen to it, that part of it would be really helpful, I think. So our last agenda item under new business, and actually on the agenda, is the Center for Youth Leadership Updates. And I don't know if there are any. There were in the minutes some follow-on, tasks, sort of action items that we were had divided up. Let me see if I can find the minutes. Hold on. Okay, so let me just see. And I think, we don't need to go, I know, hold on. Where is it? Sorry, I'm just going through. Okay, so there were a few assignments and I'll just read through them they're very brief, and just see if, rather than sort of going one by one, we can see if there are any updates right now. So the first one was my action item to do some grant research. Number two, Anna was going to look at language of other ordinances. Yvonne was going to look at the cost analysis. Ms. Garcia was going to research neighboring towns and the period movement, etc. Ms. Matthews, find the right person to find the right number of bathrooms. I think that was at the city level, or maybe that was the schools. So yeah, I think if in any order, if anybody has any updates, I mean, I'm at the top of the list. I can start by saying that I did do some grant research. I did not find any opportunities for funding. I also looked at in-kind contributions, so whether there are any of the pharmaceutical factories or manufacturers who will donate sanitary pads or tampons, because some of the organizations where I've worked, we have received those. But I couldn't find anything, not even grant opportunities. So I will say I didn't do an exhaustive amount of research, but I did look for both in-kind contributions and funding opportunities. There's definitely probably more I could look at, but didn't find anything yet. So others, anybody else have anything that you want to update on from that list, or anything else related to the Center for Youth Leadership?
Yes, I just wanted to chime in because I have to leave the meeting in a few minutes. I did reach out to Bob Cosienda after our meeting, and he said he hadn't received anything from Arlington yet regarding, he shared what they told him. They didn't have a clear picture of their cost, and they were going to get back to him. I haven't heard back, so I will follow up. It will be very helpful to have a different initiative to see how they work on their costs to acquire the supplies. But now that we had the opportunity to hear from this other commission, I think I will be reaching out to Marguerite and see if they have any kind of information regarding their efforts.
That's a great idea, Yvonne. Thank you.
Thank you, and I apologize. I have to leave the meeting right now.
No problem. Thanks for letting us know. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Others, any other updates, thoughts? No. Okay, so I think yeah, I think we need to, I'm not sure what the next step is on that. I mean, it is interesting that Marguerite said they are doing the same thing. That was one of the many things that they're doing. But I think it would be nice if we could make some progress there, and in partnership with the Center for Youth Leadership. But again, I think we need to sort of check in with the various people that we're going to take on those action items. So I guess we'll just keep that on the agenda for next month and see if we can get any further updates.
Yeah, Claudia, I think let's follow up with Anna and Sarah, who couldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And then I have an assignment too, to figure out the amount of bathrooms and kind of share that data in an organized way. So 3 follow-up items. Yeah.
Michelle, was that for the number of bathrooms in the public schools in Norwalk?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And finding out how well the menstrual items are distributed,
Yeah.
if at all.
Yeah. Okay, great. Anything else on that? Okay. Then I think we can take a motion to adjourn. Someone would like to do that.
Move to adjourn, Christina.
Thanks, Christina. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thanks, Chantal.
Welcome.
And just as a reminder, sorry, our next meeting is, I'm just looking at the calendar, October 17th. Yeah, good. All right, so the meeting is adjourned at 8:01. Thank you all, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
You
Same to
all.
you.
Nice hearing
Thank
and seeing
you.
you guys.
You too.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Claudia, for sharing. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.